All right, I wanted to create a recording of these lessons. I created this tutorial a while ago of setting up a web application, teaching how to, the different components of getting a, um, just the basic web application up and running and beginning to learn programming and learn how to, like, what a lot of people are doing as far as development right now. Lesson one here is a just kind of an overview of the major application architecture for most web development applications. And when we're talking web development, we're talking your mobile phone or web browsers, um, and also any other computer UI thing. So the client, in this graphic, we have a client, we have a web servers, we have databases. So the client is whatever interface you're using to interact, the end users are using to interact with the application. So, if we're talking about a website, then that's the web browser. That's the client. If we're talking about a mobile phone, that's the app that is running a UI that is then interacting with the web server. And the list goes on and on. There's 1,000 different applications that might be also using this thing, using this architecture. In fact, most things are architected this way now. Then you've got a web server. A web server is a computer program that doesn't necessarily have a direct UI that you're looking at and using, but it is receiving data in, processing that data, and returning data out. And that's what the web server does. And you can have multiple web servers in this section here. It may not just be one simple thing, it might be hundreds of different web servers processing different information that is being received from that client, and then doing very specific jobs to that data and returning information to that client, just depending on how complicated the system is, or what needs to happen in the background. And the last aspect of application architecture might be a database. Now, what a database does is it similar to your hard drive that stores files and keeps data for you, and you have files that you access and look at, and you might be familiar with probably with the cell phones have a specific amount of gigs that they store, and when you hit that cap you can't store any more images or whatever else you're doing on your phone. Well, a database does that same thing. A database stores the data for you, but and the data might be, if you think about like Excel or a spreadsheet, or let me pull up something here. Let me just pull up Excel so you can kind of see. So yeah, just if you think about like 2D data, kind of like this, you've got maybe you have a header line that gives you that you say like name, address, phone, right? And then the columns down are the data that people use, and or that hold that data. So you might have Paul and his address and his phone, right? And maybe you have, you know, hundreds or thousands of lines of people's contact information or whatever. That's what a database organizes that data and stores it. So you might have multiple different tables like Excel, and different tables would represent like sheets. Maybe this is just addresses, and then you want to have hobbies, or, you know, and you might have multiple tables within the database that help you organize that data. Now, why use a database over other other methods like Excel or files or things like that? The database helps you index the data and find it faster. And so when I'm talking about these spreadsheets, and that's how a database is, that's only the one type of database, a relational database. There are now thousands of types of different databases that are specifically designed for their purpose, whatever that might be. And so some data is organized and structured in a way like this. You know, they have ID columns and then data columns, and those IDs help the database know how to find things faster and index the data better and access it very quickly. And they use a language called SQL to access that data. Other databases are not structured and might be a little less organized, or organized in a different way, specific to the data that you're storing and the needs that you have. I'm not going to go into all the possible ways, because there's growing ways every day, all the time. But that's a basic introduction of the web application architecture that most things are dealing with today in 2022. You have the client, web server, databases. So if you think client is display and view the data, view information, web server is gather, organize, and process, and then database is store. So that's all I wanted to do for your lesson 1. I'm gonna stop this recording and start a new one.